Good morning and happy Tuesday, everyone. My name is Nick Marro with Occupy Fantasy. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS. As always, I'm here to help you break down today's NBA DFS slate on both DraftKings and FanDuel. We have a 7 game slate tonight, locking at 7 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If you haven't already, please like the video. Also, subscribe to the channel. That helps us keep pumping out more free content like this out to you on a daily basis. Also, if you're not already a member at Occupy Fantasy, please check the links in the description below. You get access to the model you see here, which I'll be working with throughout this video. We have a single lineup builder, a multi-lineup builder, also a private Discord server full of DFS pros where you can get help with your game. There is a 30-minute window leading up to each slate's lock where you can ask your slate and lineup specific questions as well. So yeah, let's get into it now. We have, like I said, a 7 game slate tonight. A few teams on back to back, so we're waiting on some injury reports. But yeah, only 7 games should be fairly easy to go through game by game. So let's do so right here. First game on the slate, we have the Chicago Bulls at the Indiana Pacers. The Pacers are 2-point underdogs at home. We're looking at a 234.5 point total here. Starting on the Chicago side, they are on a back to back. They recently got DeMar DeRozan back. When this team's healthy, you're kind of picking between Vooch, DeRozan, and Levine as who to prioritize. I think they all look fine here. If they're all in and healthy, though, it's really tough to say, oh, I really need to get to him or him or him. They all just look okay. I mean, Levine at 8,200 on FanDuel is probably my preferred option over there on DK. You're getting Vooch sub 9K, where DeRozan and Levine are both over 9K, so he makes sense over there. But at the same time, keep an eye on this news. There is a chance we see one of these guys rested. I think in particular it would be DeRozan on the back-to-back, but he does seem fully healthy. So just keep that in mind. If this team is healthy, though, it is a great matchup. I just don't know how many pulls you're going to want in your lineup. There's a lot of good pay-up options on this slate. So as always, I'm also going to keep a window open for both DraftKings and FanDuel and kind of click in the priority plays as we talk through the games here. So as things stand, I don't know if there's any major priorities on either site. I'll go ahead and put Levine in as shooting guard on FanDuel at 8,200. He does feel a little bit too cheap over there. On TK, though, I think the Bulls' big three of Levine, DeRozan, and Vooch are all kind of priced where they should be. I don't mind Pat Williams at 4,700 on DraftKings. He's fine. I mean, if Alex Caruso's in at 4K flat, he certainly works as a value guard, but really nothing we're prioritizing from Chicago unless we get more news. So over on the Indiana side of the ball, let's take a look at the injury report. Indiana is not on a back-to-back, so we do already know who's out for them. We have Tyrese Halliburton out. Once again, Andrew Nembhard is questionable, and then still no Daniel Tice. I don't know that he ever becomes a rotational piece, but that's neither here nor there. So with Halliburton out of the lineup, we can go back to TJ McConnell. 6,100 on DK, 6,600 on FanDuel. I mean, here's the thing with TJ McConnell. He doesn't always play the minutes. We've seen that a few times in the absence of Halliburton. So I'm just zooming in here. Coming off a huge game where he had 55 fantasy points, that was with Nemhard out. So Nemhard is questionable. That's kind of the piece of news we need to wait on for Indiana. If Nemhard's out, I think McConnell's kind of a core play. Even if Nemhard's in, I think he's fine, but you do have to just be cautious with the minutes. I mean, we did see that floor game out of him against Denver, but that was a blowout. Usually he's playing 25 to 28 minutes. We're not seeing 30 for him consistently, but with Nemhard out of the lineup, we are. So I like TJ McConnell. I think he's a good cash play with Nemhard in. But with Nemhard out, he's kind of a borderline lock for me, and he's going to be really tough to get away from, even coming off the bench. So I'm going to pencil him in for now. I don't love the price, if I'm being completely honest. But at the same time, if Nemhard's out, I do think this is where you're kind of starting in building your lineup. So just keep an eye on that. I already got him penciled in here. In the front court, no major injuries. Obviously, Miles Turner is fine. I like him on both sites. 7,100 on DK is certainly more appealing than the 8,100 tag he has over on FanDuel. Buddy Hield is fine. Scoring dependent guard. Benedict Mathurin, similar story. Riskier than Hield, but also cheaper. And he's also drawing more ownership. So I don't mind getting to Mathurin here if Nemhard's out. Even if Nemhard's in, I think he's okay as as a tournament play. Again, very scoring dependent, but we're looking at a game with over a 240 point total here. So there is a lot to like regardless for Indiana, but if Nembhard's out, I mean, Heels, Mathurin are both going to look excellent. They already look good. And then TJ McConnell becomes really, really good, and he's already a solid play as things stand. So, um, yeah, really like TJ McConnell here. This is a great game environment, and with it being the first game on the slate, we should have the news. We should have the starting lineup, so we don't have to play too much guessing when it comes to who to roster for those teams. So just again, keep an eye on that news. Moving into the next game on the slate, we have the Boston Celtics at the Miami Heat. The Heat are 3-point favorites at home, so Boston is on a back-to-back here. We're going to have to kind of wait and see who's out. It sounds like Marcus Smart's probably going to be out. Again, we're waiting on that injury report. If he is, we can go back to Grant Williams. Malcolm Brogdon, he missed yesterday as well. It seems like he's going to be out. If both of them are out, we can go right back to Derek White. White kind of had a floor game last night, which obviously wasn't great. And it created more run and usage for Pritchard. But at the same time, White was banged up in the first half. He missed one of his stints due to injury. So he got the value even missing those minutes. And I think with it being a back-to-back, that could actually help him here. He should be ready to go. We could see him play over 30 if Smart and Brogdon are both out again. If you want to use Pritchard as kind of a punt, I totally get it. I think people are going to chase those points. So in tournaments, I am going to be looking to get elsewhere. I mean, even in 31 minutes, you see he didn't even get to 15 fantasy points on DK. So Derek White's certainly the better guard play here. But with Brogdon and Smart both questionable, we're going to have to wait and see. If they're all in, I do like Smart the best, obviously the most talented in terms of just basketball ability and fantasy production. But if he's out, I do really like Derek White. Brogdon's fine as well, but I think White is a little bit safer. But again, if they're all in, all three of them are in, I probably wouldn't even get to any of the guards. It is a tough matchup with Miami. Tatum and Brown both played last night, both look good. I think they're both going to play here, but it is a back-to-back, so just keep an eye on that news. If either's ruled out, it would not be surprising. Robert Williams got to rest last night. He should be back and in. Blake Griffin actually got the start. Not someone I'm ever rostering in DFS, but yeah, I mean, at least we don't have to deal with that today. I could see Al Horford getting rested on the back-to-back, which would create more usage for Robert Williams and secure his minutes. So it's something to keep an eye on. If Grant Williams were to start in that scenario, he's been pretty good as a boom-bust value play, but he's priced way up on both sites now, so I wouldn't be getting there. So really the priorities here are Tatum and Brown, and then we have to keep an eye on that injury news for the guards. If all three are in, I don't think you have to prioritize any, but if we get Brogdon and Smart out again, Derek White would look excellent, and you could use Pritchard as a punt if you were desperate, but I would be looking to get elsewhere. Not really crazy about Peyton Pritchard. Over on the Miami side of things, they are not on a back-to-back. Their injury report is already out, and it is the shortest I've seen from Miami in a while. No Duncan Robinson, no Yurtseven, no Jovic. So this is another one of these teams when they're healthy. It's tough to know who to kind of pick. I'd really like the price on Butler at just 7,600 over on DK. He's too cheap over there. Tyler Hero 6,800 hasn't really been hitting that ceiling he was before his injury, but that's just too cheap. We saw him pushing 9K when he was at his best. So everyone's cheaper than they have been for this Miami team. So it is a tough matchup with Boston. I'm really not rushing to get to them here, but if anyone were to be ruled out from like that big four, then they're all going to be extremely appealing at these prices, especially on DraftKings. On FanDuel, we're getting 8,600 for Jimmy. I think I like Bam a little bit better there, where he's only 100 more. Hero's fine, 7,400. Small forward's pretty thin tonight. So these are all good plays. Really nothing I'm forcing unless someone ends up ruled out. But I will shout out Jimmy Butler at just 7,600 on DraftKings. That's pretty much the cheapest we've seen on him all season. And he tends to get up for these games against the top teams in the conference. So do really like Jimmy Butler over on DraftKings. Moving into the next game on the slate, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers at the New York Knicks. The Knicks are 3.5-point underdogs at home here. Just a 220-point game total, 220 and a half rather. On the Cavs side of the ball, Donovan Mitchell should be back. He is listed as probable. Um, Dylan Windler's still out. Dean Wade's been back. So yeah, again, it's a healthy team. It's tough to really target these healthy teams. They're usually priced where they should be. I will say this though, Donovan Mitchell, where we're getting him sub 9K, as long as we don't get word that he's going to be limited or anything, he had a left groin strain. I don't know how serious it was, but it sounds like he should be getting his full run of minutes here, in which case I would really like the 8,800 tag on him on DK, 84 over on FanDuel as well. He just feels too cheap. Mobley and Allen are fine in the front court. Karis LeVert, he's been really solid, but with Mitchell coming back, he's probably not going to start, so I wouldn't be getting to him much. Really, it's Donovan Mitchell here. Just make sure he's not going to be limited. Just keep an ear out for beat reporters. We'll probably be discussing that in the Discord, so another reason to go on over and sign up for Occupy. But yeah, just another healthy team in a tough matchup. So really tough to prioritize anything on Cleveland other than maybe Mitchell. He's just a little bit underpriced coming back from that injury. On the next side of the ball, Emmanuel Quickly's questionable. Mitchell Robinson's still out. So we've seen Jericho Sims getting the starts at center. He looks good on DK at 3,900. If he's starting 5K on FanDuel, a little bit tougher to stomach. You're also using up that center spot. But yeah, I'll go ahead. I'll pencil in that 3,900 for Jericho Sims. It's not totally safe. I mean, we've seen him get in foul trouble. It's a tough matchup against Cleveland, but unless we get more value opening up throughout the day, I do think that's the spot you're probably going to want to go. And while I'm here, I totally forgot to jump on Jimmy Butler at 7,600. That just feels too cheap to me, even if this team's healthy. So I'm just kind of building a loose shell here. This is going to change throughout the day with injury news, but just so you guys can kind of see where I'm at as things stand. Um, but yeah, with Quickly out, I mean, that does secure the minutes for someone like Quentin Grimes. He hasn't had a very high usage rate, though. I do like RJ Barrett on both sides, right around that 7K tag. He's reasonably priced there. Jalen Brunson's fine. Julius Randle's fine. But again, pretty healthy team. Tough to prioritize anything when they are all kind of priced right where they should be. Moving into the next game on the slate, we have the Denver Nuggets at the New Orleans Pelicans. Looking at the Nuggets here, we have Bones Highland questionable, Jokic questionable, Michael Porter Jr. questionable. So yeah, this is going to be probably the most important game on the slate in terms of news. If Jokic is in, one of the best plays on the slate. I like him everywhere. If he's out, that's going to be a big boost to Jamal Murray. We probably see DeAndre Jordan get the start at center. If that's the case, I really don't want him much. He's just not a good basketball player at this point in his career. But if we see Zeke Naji starting at center again, he'd become a priority for me here. So keep an eye on that. If Jokic is out and Naji is starting, I do think you want to get to Naji. If Jokic is in, one of my favorite payups on the slate. Again, if Jokic is out, Murray would look excellent, as would all the other starters for Denver. Bones Highland, questionable. If he's out, that just secures more minutes in that backcourt. He's not a starter, though, so it's not a major bump to anyone. Maybe we see someone like Christian Braun get more run. He's not in the model as things currently stand. He's had a very high fantasy point per minute rate lately. Um, it's tricky with Malone, though. He doesn't always like to play his young players. Michael Porter Jr. questionable for personal reasons. If he's in, he's good. If he's out, that would be a boost to Aaron Gordon. Gordon is one of the only starters not listed as questionable today. So Gordon, Murray, and KCP all look healthy. They're all going to be good here. As more players get ruled out, they'll become even better. Bruce Brown as well. If any of these guys are ruled out, he's going to start. And he's been really solid when given those opportunities. So keep an eye on that. But it's just really tough to know exactly where to go for Denver until we get that news. As things stand, I really like Jokic. Let's say everyone's in. Jokic would be probably the priority here, obviously. Jamal Murray at just 7K on DK does look really good over there. 8,100 on FanDuel. Fine price, but not something I'd be paying unless Jokic is ruled out. So just keep that in mind. And then Aaron Gordon, 6,700 on DK looks good to me as well. So a lot to like here from Denver. Just how much we like it kind of depends on that injury news, though. So keep an eye on things there. Talking through New Orleans now. Still no Brandon Ingram. He is doubtful. Zion Williams is out. Najee Marshall is questionable. So yeah, CJ McCollum's going to look good here once again. Joe Val as well. He's been really solid, inconsistent, but very high ceiling, which we like in tournaments. Herbert Jones and Trey Murphy both look fine. If Najee Marshall is indeed out, we have him in the model right now, then they both look a lot better. Especially Trey Murphy, I do think he benefits more than even Herbert Jones here. So keep an eye on that one. But yeah, New Orleans is good. It is a tough matchup with Denver. I wouldn't mind guys like Dyson Daniels if he starts, even Jose Alvarado, regardless of whether he starts or comes off the bench. He does have a ceiling at that sub 5K price tag, excuse me, but not something I'd be prioritizing unless he starts. Really, it's CJ here for me, and then if Marshall's out, I do like Trey Murphy and Herbert Jones a lot. Joe Val's fine at center. There's just a lot of good centers on the slate, as is often the case. So no real surprise there. Nothing we're really forcing or prioritizing yet, though. Moving into the next game on the slate, we have Where are they? Mavericks. Mavericks are 7-point favorites at home, hosting the Washington Wizards. No major injury news for Dallas other than Kleber and Christian Wood still being out. Um, Yeah, they've been out for a while, so no surprise there. Dwight Powell does look a little bit better. Never a great fantasy producer, but where you're getting him at power forward on FanDuel for just 3,900, he's someone I think you can pencil in unless we get more value to open up throughout the day. He just makes a lot of sense here. I wouldn't want to use my center spot for someone like Powell. Very inconsistent. We're rarely even seeing him get over 20 fantasy points. But in a matchup against Washington, which certainly favors the Mavericks, and no one really available in this front court. I think Dwight Powell for 3,900 at power forward makes a lot of sense. Not loving him over on DK as he is only center eligible over there. Dorian Finney-Smith looks fine on both sides as a value play. Tim Hardaway Jr., Spencer Dinwiddie, all okay, kind of secondary options. Really, really like Luka though, and we see that reflected in the ownership. He's coming in as one of the most popular plays on the slate. I mean, if you can afford him, let's go ahead and do it. Only 11.9 on FanDuel, which is actually a little bit cheaper than we've seen him lately. The 12.6 over on DK is going to be tougher to stomach. It's probably going to make more sense to go balance over there, at least as things stand. I don't know why Tatum got penciled in there. Certainly can't afford Tatum with Luka, but if you do want to go to Luka today with the core that we've been building so far, you still have around 4,800 per player. So it's possible on DK. Certainly easier on FanDuel. You see, we still have 6K per player with the core we started building over here. Um, but yeah, obviously it's Luka Doncic. I mean, if we're just sorting by every game and we sort by the OF index, which is going to weigh upside along with price and ownership, but more so upside. We see Luka popping as the best play on the slate by a considerable margin. A full OF index point more than Jokic here. So yeah, a lot of reasons to like Luka. If you can afford him, I do think you do it. Like I said, I don't mind Dwight Powell in the front court over on FanDuel as well, just because he has that power forward eligibility. You could kind of punt the position to afford Luka and maybe another pay up option. But yeah, Luka's the priority. No surprise there. Moving over to the Washington side of things. They just traded Rui Hachimura, so they now have Kendrick Nunn. I don't know if he's going to be available tonight. I don't think that changes much. It was kind of more of a salary move, I think, for Washington. They probably weren't going to pay Hachimura, so it made sense to ship him off for a couple second-round picks. Kristaps Porzingis is out, though, which means big usage and minutes for Kyle Kuzma. We already see the minutes, but the usage does go up with Porzingis out of the lineup. Bradley Beal as well. Just 7,300 over on DK. That's very, very appealing. 8K on FanDuel, certainly reasonable there. So let's do this. Just penciling in some Washington. I'll go Kuzma over on FanDuel. Love him on both sites, though. Don't get me wrong. And I'll go Beal over on DK. Again, love him on both sites. Don't get me wrong there as well. But with Porzingis out of the lineup, they both look a lot better here. If Denny Avila gets the start, I think he's one of the better value plays on the slate. Another guy I think we should probably consider. Let me just type him in instead of clicking through everything. It's a little bit quicker. And small forward's always one of the thinner positions, so it does make sense to go to him over there. It seems my DK is freezing. Just a second. That was strange. Anyway, got Denny Avila into my my DK lineup. Let's see, we pencil him in over on FanDuel. Again, ideally he's starting here, but with KP out of the lineup, he should see increased usage and do a little bit more ball handling. But yeah, that's the big piece there. And also with Rui out, he had been seeing a good chunk of usage with that second unit. That should benefit Denny Avila here as well. So we almost have a full team build here, in spite of the fact that yeah, we still have a couple games to go. So really like Washington today with Porzingis out of the lineup. Another guy I should probably talk about a little bit is Daniel Gafford. He's going to see increased rebounding and usage in that front court with Porzingis out of the lineup. So another player I like a lot. So a lot to like from Washington today for sure. And if you have Luke on the other side, that's probably one of the better games on the slate to target as a whole. Moving into the next game on the slate, 9 o'clock window, we have the Hornets at the Suns. The Hornets are on a back-to-back, so they're tricky here. LaMelo Ball did rest last night. I think he's going to be good to go. So if he's in, everyone's kind of priced where they should be. I do like Ball in tournaments. He's fine. Rozier at 7,700 on DK is okay, but with Ball in, he's not going to be as appealing. If Ball does rest again or he's not back from that injury, I think you could go to Rozier on both sides and feel really good about it. Plumlee's been excellent, 6,800 on DK, better than the 79 on FanDuel in a big way. but yeah, another one to keep an eye on. Gordon Hayward's been working his way back from injury. If he's out, that would boost Washington McDaniels. Kelly Oubre is likely still going to be out here as well. But I wouldn't be shocked if they did rest Hayward on the back-to-back. They've been kind of limiting his minutes. But Charlotte, another team we have to wait and see. Keep an eye on them. Over on the Phoenix side of the ball, Devin Booker's still out. Chris Paul is back though. Campaign's still out. Landry Shamet is still out. DeAndre Ayton is out. So pretty much this whole team is out except for Bridges, Craig, and Paul. They do have Cam Johnson back. Very scoring dependent. Don't mind him as a value guard. If he's starting, I do think you could go to him for value. Bismack Biyombo, if he's getting the start at center with Ayton out of the lineup, he's going to be one of your better value plays on the slate. This is actually his former team here, and I'm not usually one for revenge, and I'm really not in this case either. But you don't need many more reasons to want to play Biyombo here. He looks excellent. Um, I get too many guys going to click out of a few plays. Um, just don't want to violate any terms of service. But yeah, I really like Chris Paul on both sides. Really, really like Bismack Biyombo on both sides. They're both excellent options. Yeah, I have no issues getting to either. I also like Bridges here. All of Phoenix does look better with Booker still out of the lineup, and their prices haven't necessarily um, gotten as high as they should because Aiton's out. Obviously, with Paul back, it hurts the usage of everyone, but Aiton's out now and Booker's still out. So pretty much anyone who starts going to be appealing here. I don't mind Craig, never a great fantasy producer, but Bridges, Paul, excellent. Cam Johnson, solid. Bismack Biyombo as well. They all look good. And then in tournaments, Jock Landell does have a very high ceiling if Biyombo gets into foul trouble. So he's at least worth mentioning. Dario Saric, never someone I'm excited to play, but we have seen him start a few times. So another player, maybe if he starts, you could get to his value, but there is plenty to like here for Phoenix in a very, very plus matchup against the Charlotte Hornets. So final game on the slate now. We have the battle for LA. We got the Clippers at the Lakers. The Clippers are 5-point favorites on the road. Let's see. Luke Kennard's out. John Wall's out. Moses Brown's out. So no major pieces, I guess, other than John Wall, if you want to call him that, but they are healthy now. So Kawhi Leonard, he's kind of priced where he should be. Paul George, kind of priced where he should be. I do really like the 8,300 over on FanDuel for Paul George. He's easier to get to than Kawhi. Obviously, Kawhi is a little bit better of a fantasy producer, but if they're both in and healthy, it's easier to get to Paul George. I do like him here. I wouldn't say he's a major priority. So those two look good. Zubac kind of as a tournament-only center, wide range of outcomes, similar to Jonas Valanciunas, who we talked about earlier. Cheaper, also riskier than Joe Val with the lower ceiling, but to me, they're similar plays. Centers I like in tournaments if I'm playing multiple lineups, but never centers I'm getting to frequently if I'm only playing a couple. Norm Powell looks fine, but with George and Leonard in, he's tough to get excited about. Can say the same about Marcus Morris. Terrence Mann, as long as he's starting at point guard at 4,500 on DK, he has some appeal, but I don't know that we need to get that creative tonight. So let's move over to the Lakers side of the ball now. Still no Anthony Davis. Rui Hachimura is not yet going to be dressed. LeBron James is questionable. Austin Reeves, Lonnie Walker still out. So if James is in, he's excellent on both sides. Obviously, very high usage rate. Decent matchup. Should be a competitive game against the Clippers. I do think he plays, and I do like him here a lot. We finally saw Thomas Bryant get extended minutes after a few weeks of being terrible. He's fine at center. There are better center plays, in my opinion, on the slate, but I could see getting to him. Russ is fine in tournaments. Don't mind Dennis Schroeder in tournaments. Troy Brown Jr., if he starts, is okay. Just not a great fantasy producer. Kind of like a Dwight Powell, except a wing. He's cheap enough that he could help you get to more payups, which makes him appealing, but him in a vacuum, just not a great fantasy player. So it's really LeBron here for the Lakers. I do expect him to play. If he's out, obviously all the other starters would look better. But as things stand, LeBron is really the one piece for LA that I'm interested in. So just taking a quick look at what we started building here. I mean, terms of service, you can't really build a full lineup on stream, but you guys get it. NBA, things are going to change throughout the day as injury news breaks. This could completely change by the end of the day. But yeah, I mean, I really like Biyombo if he starts. White looks good if the other guards are out for Boston. McConnell, obviously much better if Nemhard is out. Denny Avila looks good here, especially on DK at 4K flat. If you could afford Luka, I love him on both sides. Kyle Kuzma and Bradley Beal both look good with Kristaps Porzingis out of the lineup. Quick sort by ownership in our model here. McConnell's one of the most popular plays on the slate. No surprises there. If Nemhard's in, I could see getting elsewhere at point guard. There's plenty of other good options. We got the Pauls, the Doncic's. if you could find value at other positions, maybe McConnell in limited minutes is a spot you could get away from. But as things stand, I don't think that's ownership you want to necessarily fade. Cam Johnson, he's interesting to me, scoring dependent. His minutes do seem to be climbing, though. He's fine. Daniel Gafford with Porzingis out. A lot to like on the 7-game slate in all price ranges. So I think as we get more value, it's going to get easier and easier to afford Luka and even a Jokic type if he's in. Probably not both in the same lineup, but you could pick one of your favorite payups today and feel pretty good about the rest of your build. Once again, my name's Nick Marro with Occupy Fantasy. You could find me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, check the links in the description below to sign up to Occupy today. Let's have some fun tonight, everyone, and make some money. Good luck. Take care.